Art is a medium of which can be used to express many different topics and/or subjects. Unlike certain storybooks or other forms of media, traditional art can be interpreted in many ways. That is a huge draw when it comes to the mixed media. How many of those who view the same painting can leave with a different interpretation. A picture is worth 1,000 words, they say. Art can express simple topics like love or compassion and/or the deeper topics such as what we strive for in life. But sometimes, there are ones that hit deeper. Ones that have no redeeming qualities to the message. And that is Botticelli's La Derelitta. Sandro Botticelli was one of the bigger artists when it came to the Italian Renaissance. One of his most famous paintings that many remember is The Birth of Venus, a painting that showcases the god of Venus coming out of a shell and being surrounded by figures, one of which was the god of wind Aeolus. Like many of his other paintings, it focused on the female body, seeing the beauty in both the natural body and the natural world. He adopted the laws of central perspective and studied the sculptures of antiquity, their ideal physiques perhaps best manifested in his nude figures. At the same time, the elegance and gracefulness of Botticelli's female forms reveal his affinity to the tendency of late Gothic. Yet his paintings also contain a philosophical, political, and religious content, far removed from a desire to merely reproduce the charm and beauty of the figures in cheerful scenes from mythology and religion. It is this which renders his pictures. This painting, along with many of his other works, are held in high regard, alongside all the others that were created during the Renaissance of the 15th century. But of course, like artists of today, there are outliers. Art that flies under the radar compared to the more popular art pieces that the artist has created. And much like going into a cave, the deeper you go, the bleaker it may get. Botticelli's La Derelitta is a silent painting. There is no speech or poeticness to it. It is simple. A person in front of a wall hunched over, clearly in despair. However, what exactly is unknown. There is a door beside them along with robes on the ground. It isn't extravagant, it isn't a beautiful painting that fills you with wonder, it is a simple painting that is a punch in the gut with its minimalism. Could the robes represent the loss of those around this person, or the depersonalization those go through when isolating themselves? What made Botticelli go from creating paintings that spreaded the positivity of the natural world, to the feeling as though there is a beauty in the everyday life that surrounds us, to challenging the ideologies of those in power, to this? In 1482, when Botticelli was in his full powers as a painter, the preacher-prophet Girolamo Savonarola came to Florence. Assigned to one of the city's most important churches, Savonarola arrived breathing fire and brimstone. He railed against the aristocrats, the Medicis, wealth, the corrupt church, and the papacy, and advocated a return to Aztec Christianity. On the eve of Lent, the thugs went from home to home in Florence, rounding up all things considered vanities. This could mean mirrors, clothing, furniture, keepsakes, jewelry, books, and much more, including art. Particularly art like Botticelli's, deemed to be unchristian, sacrilegious, sinful, and pagan. These items were taken to the Florence's central square, where they were stacked into an enormous pile then set aflame. This was the infamous bonfire of the vanities. Legend has it, under Savonarola's sway, Botticelli burned some of his own artwork. If so, the loss reverberates still. This painting wasn't just an expression of despair, it was a painting of sorrow. Knowing how much that Botticelli had lost during that time, it must have felt like the end of the world for him. So many paintings he spent his entire life dedicated to creating were lost in an inferno. His entire ideologies were being challenged and/or chastised. At that point, one must ask, what is the point of anything, when everything you held dear and/or created is gone? The figure feels like a pendant, almost a ghost. It's like the rapture just happened. Everyone has vanished or left. The figure is alone, except for a few mystic visions. Botticelli spent his last years in an unproductive emotional exile. From the vantage of today, his life might look like a righteous tragedy. A noble artist defeated by the forces of repressive belief. But they repressed him too. And oppressed him. Savonarola may have burned, but his judgment hung over Botticelli nevertheless. The robes we see may represent the loss of Botticelli's creations. The isolation of the figure may be how he felt when his ideologies were made to be villain. In the final years of his life, left in such an emotional exile, away from everyone else. This painting has been theorized to be part of a series of paintings created by both Botticelli and Filippino Lippi, but it is still up for debate. This painting was created long after Lippi's apprenticeship with Botticelli was over. Could it be that Botticelli added another painting to the story, that both continues it, and represents the despair he was feeling at that time? Who knows? Whatever it may be, This painting is terribly bleak and has no light at the end of the tunnel.